Hi, and welcome to Breaking the Panels. My name's Dean, and since the 2017 release of Justice League, there has been a big cry out for a director's cut, known as the Snyder Cut. We've already seen the extended version of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice that gave us an extra half an hour of pure action and more story development. Some of you might already know that the director Zack Snyder, who also brought us Man of Steel and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, had to leave filming just before it was complete due to family issues. Lots of people have stated that Warner Bros wanted Zack Snyder out of the picture long before the film had started, due to Batman v Superman being slated by the critics, despite fans loving it. And it seemed that Warner Bros wanted a much colourful and jokey approach, something like we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, I really liked that the DCEU had that dark and gritty feel. After all, not everyone likes the same ice cream. So, director-writer Joss Whedon was called in to finish the film. I was a big fan of Whedon, from Buffy, Firefly to even Dr. Horrible. However, I wasn't blown away with the Avengers Age of Ultron. I was a little bit worried when he was brought on board, as he has a very different director style as Snyder. And you can really feel the scenes where he really came on. You can see where the jokes were thrown and it was a lot more lighter.
Yeah, I need friends.
Great.
Can I keep this?
Okay, so what would we really get with the Snyder Cut, and what would that look like? Well, doing some research for this video, I can safely say it would have looked a lot different. And it seems the original script was completely turned around. And yeah, it would have been a lot darker film, but we'd have had a lot more character development. Okay, so let's break it down. First of all, it wouldn't have started off with that terrible CGI Superman that was clearly done in the reshoots where everyone knows that he had the moustache. No, this film would have started with Bruce tracking down Arthur, otherwise known as Aquaman. And you can see this in the original trailer, where Bruce has got a big beard and he's going through on horseback. And a lot of the scenes we're going to talk about were actually in the trailers, but never got a theatrical release. So, after Bruce being turned down by Aquaman, he would return to Gotham, and this is where you see him shave a beard. As in the theatrical release, you see him on the rooftops fighting a criminal, fully shaven. The next moment he's got a big beard just to shave it off the next scene. It just doesn't make sense. But if this scene was in the beginning, it makes perfect sense, as in that scene would then go on to the rooftop scene, him fighting a parademon. And then we cut to the hostage scene, with the suicide bombers with Wonder Woman. Unfortunately, one of the bombs does go off in Snyder's script, which you don't see in the Joss Whedon version, but you do see the explosion in the trailer once again. And this really weighs on her through the rest of the film, pushing on that story where she doesn't want to be in the spotlight. And the scene where Bruce is really pushing her into it, you can see why she gets so angry. We then go to a massive scene that was cut out, and this one really shocked me when I was watching it in the cinema. It's the Barry Allen saving Iris. It looks great, and when he puts his finger through that window, it looks amazing. And in this film, you would have really seen him use his speed force. Unfortunately, the whole scene was cut, and you never see the actress that played Iris. And it would also seem that this cut would also focus more on Cyborg, and would have really flushed out his development, which I really felt it lacked in the film, and I just wanted to see more, as Fisher is a really good actor. As straight after Barry saving Iris, we cut to Cyborg. We see him playing college football, and we see the tragic accident that took his mum away and made him the half a man he was. We then see him developing his powers, and the robot side of him showing that he can take over nuclear weapons. But he pushes this away to find out more about the world, and we see him learn to fly for the very first time. And this scene would have flowed perfectly with the scene where he's talking to his dad about Frankenstein's monster. And this is where the Snyder script follows where Steppenwolf attacks the Amazons, and this would have looked pretty much the same as it did. However, Steppenwolf himself would have looked completely different. He would have looked like how we saw him more in BVS, a lot more darker, more scarier. But thanks to Warner Bros, we got a much more lighter Steppenwolf. And due to the CGI being rushed, it just didn't look as good as it could have been. And in this epic fight with the Amazons, we would have got that great speech that he does in the first original trailer, talking about how all the heroes have fallen.
No protectors here. No lanterns. No Kryptonian. This world will fall. Like all the others.
Straight after the Amazon attack, we would have gone back to Bruce and Diana, where Bruce tells Diana that Aquaman wasn't going to be a part of the team. Another thing that we saw in the trailer. And this is where Diana would have told Bruce about Steppenwolf attacking hundreds of years ago. And unfortunately, we would have got a lot more Green Lantern, Zeus and Ares, all having speaking parts. Then they would have gone their separate ways in search of Flash and Cyborg. The fight in Atlantis would have been more drawn out, with not Mira helping Aquaman, but Valko, played by William Dafoe. Unfortunately, his character was completely cut out, but we're really looking forward to seeing Aquaman later on this year. The water station at Gotham City Harbour scene would have been pretty much the same, however, with more focus on Cyborg and his inner conflict with the machine inside. Then leading into the return of Superman, with the help of Cyborg's dad. With the guilt that he was following of what happened, he helped them break into the Kryptonian ship, giving that father-son story arc closure. Then we moved to Memorial Square. This scene would have been pretty much the same, just a little bit more flushed out. We would have seen Superman taking out the team a little bit more, and that scene in the trailer once again where Cyborg tells the police officers they should get back. But Lois Lane doesn't get brought by Alfred. She hears the commotion from far away and runs to Memorial Square to stop Clark in his tracks as they fly off back to Kansas. This would have happened just after a cutscene with Lois waking up after having a dream missing Clark. This is something that we did see cut up into the opening sequence of the film. However, this would have been a more flushed out scene with Lois, giving it more depth into her feelings of Clark. And as Clark flies her back to the farm, we would have got that scene about them talking about the engagement. Another thing that we saw in the trailer that we just didn't get on the big screen. He then flies back to the Kryptonian ship where you see the infamous black suit. He suits up in the traditional red and blue suit that we know and love and goes and finds Alfred, where he finds out where the team have gone. The scene where Clark goes and gets his suit and speaks to Alfred can actually be seen on the Blu-ray extras, which really puzzles me why they just didn't put him in the film. This would then lead into the scene where Bruce is pushing Diana to be the team leader once again, giving that story development that little bit more push. And you would have seen more of his guilt over the death of Superman, and why he wants to sacrifice himself at the end of the film, leading all the parademons away from the rest of the team. Lines like Aquaman's "We're all gonna die" changes to a more humorous line like "I don't wanna die." Before the team leave in the Flying Fox, you see Cyborg doing a 3D image of the land, and they plan out their attack, letting the team bond a little bit more before the final fight. And the final fight, it pretty much plays the same as the theatrical release. However, as Cyborg is prying open the mother boxes, he does get a vision, just like what Bruce got in Batman v Superman, of the Nightmare Batman and Darkseid. And this really does feed into this 5-part story arc that Snyder had envisioned. In the theatrical release, we actually see Steppenwolf comment on him seeing the vision. And after the big fight, we do get some extra scenes, like Barry getting his job at the crime lab, and we see Mira coming to land to bring Aquaman back to Atlantis. And before the film was even released, there was a lot of hype about a secret character that was going to be shown. Unfortunately, this feels like it was the biggest scene cut. Near the end of the film, we would have seen Bruce Wayne being woken up by none other than Hal Jordan Green Lantern, who would have been played by Armie Hammer. He would have warned Bruce about the oncoming attack by Darkseid. This would have been fantastic to see and a great cliffhanger, and would have clearly led into Justice League Part 2. And that's just it. This film was originally billed as a 2-part film. Unfortunately, it was stripped down to 1. And I remember when the original time of the film came out as 2 hours and 40, and I was ecstatic to see this epic Justice League movie. However, due to the long runtime of the new Blade Runner film putting people going off to the cinema, Warner Bros. Decided to cut it down to just under 2 hours, and you can really feel it when you watch it. There are scenes I love in this film and I can watch over and over. However, if I got that 2 hours and 40 movie that was promised by Warner Bros., it would have been epic, and I would have been over the moon. I also can see where Joss Whedon has stepped in. There are some scenes where Batman is really dumbed down. For instance, the scene where he's on the floor saying, "Yep, something's definitely bleeding." And that awful bumble that he makes where Superman says that "you didn't bring me back because you liked me." That's just not Bruce that I know and love. And this is a Batman that's been around for over 20 years. When I watch Justice League with the other films in the DCEU, I can't help but feel that it doesn't have the weight of Man of Steel and BVS. And will we ever get the Snyder cut that all the fans want? Who knows? It did take over 20 years to get the Donner cut of Superman 2. What are your thoughts of how the Snyder cut would have looked? Leave a comment below. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. You can find us on all social media. Thanks for watching.